But I have to say, we are going to talk about Ben Johnson and West Ham, but everybody's just went, is that Antonio?
Antonio's back. He's back. Covered the whole camera.
I'm going to go and get invest in some weight.
Wow.
Like Mr. Incredible. Look, let's talk about Ben. There he is.
Look at Ben Johnson's back.
But look, let's talk about Ben Johnson. Let's talk about West Ham. It's just, it's going swimmingly, and that's a perfect environment for somebody to try and work on their game and to develop in the way that he's doing.
What's fantastic about West Ham, I was looking at them the other day, and you look at their backroom staff, even you've got Nolan was a manager, obviously Stuart Pearce, even Paul Nevin, you know, McKinley, they're all managers. And when you look at West Ham in the past, they've had players that have come in, and they've kind of like, they've been okay for a while and then they've faded off. I think what they've got now is a team around them which are improving players. The players are improving. They're playing a brand of football that he played at Everton. They were very intense in their work rate and how hard they're working. People like Jared Bowen, you know, taking the summer off and just going up into the hills of Huddersfield and just training hard because the work what he's got to put in. You know, you're looking at West Ham now, they're going to play against teams, whether it's at home or away, and they're going for the teams. There's a whole different energy to West Ham now, and you've got players, young players like Ben Johnson coming through, and you could see that he's going to be a mainstay.
When you talk about Jared Bowen going and doing the extra training and making sure he gets himself particularly fit for the coming season, is that easier to do when you know that the results have been coming? Because they ended the season well last time around. They know they've got another season under David Moyes to come. Is it easier to push yourself that bit harder? Yeah,
it is. I think if you're a player and the manager asks you to do something and then you start winning, you instantly you're like, I'm on board with this.
Yeah.
The manager's asking me to be fit, to run around a lot, they want to hit these targets every Monday morning with the sports scientists. Well, actually, I don't mind hitting them because we're winning and we're being successful. So it definitely makes everyone's job a lot easier. But if you look at like the game this weekend, you know, like Liverpool are one of the best teams in the world, and you're thinking West Ham can go and win. West Ham are legitimate. Last season it was like, when are they going to fall off? They will fall off. They will, and they kind of did towards the end, but they stayed strong for most of the season. They've come back again this season, and like it's not. I'm not thinking anymore they're going to fall off. I'm like, well, West Ham are here, and they're a contender in these kind of games to get results.
We were talking at the start of the show about Tottenham, about their top 4 chances. The thing is, they're going to have to dislodge somebody, and West Ham aren't going to give up their position easily at all.
No, not at all. I mean, and to be honest with you, I don't even feel qualified to answer that question, because defensively, that's where they're most strong. Set pieces as well as what do you think is the?
Yeah, no, I think, and it's typical David Moyes, isn't it? And it's nice to see like for me. It's like the game, if you look at like Pep Guardiola and Oli and all these people, well, the game don't change that much. You need a solid defence, you need a good goalkeeper, you need to be good on clean sheets. You need to be good on set pieces and good in both boxes. And that's what West Ham are. They're getting the best out of Antonio. They've got some other players, Bowen, Ben Rama, Fornals, playing really well. Declan Rice is on fire, and they've got a solid backline. I don't think
Zuma coming
like
there.
and Moyes doesn't seem to confuse the issue. And you made an excellent point with the backroom staff. But all those people there are strong personalities in there. I can imagine them saying they're not yes men. Nolan's not a yes man. Stuart Pearce not a yes man. They're going to say, and they're going to keep the energy going and keep driving West Ham on when maybe, you know, they have a good win and everyone goes, oh, we're like West Ham and that's enough. It's like, no, we'll come back to work Monday morning and we're going to go and win again.
Go on. I was going to say that obviously the one thing that they really do need to sort out is the striker side of things. We've seen Mikel Antonio and the way he plays and the energy he puts in. They do need to make sure that they can reel him back a little bit, but you do feel that if he got any kind of injury, then that would curtail them a little bit. Of course, when you look at Jared Bowen, he's 8 goals last season. He's somebody that he wants to score more. Fornals is kicking in more. Now we're seeing a lot more from him. You know, we're getting people like Declan Rice. They just need to kick in with more goals. But I do believe that West Ham have to find another striker from somewhere if they're going to continue with the push. Because like you said as well, Ash, yes, they fell off a little bit, and it's only because of games what he missed last season as well, Antonio. You can't put that much strain on one striker who's had injury problems. So that is the problem that they may have.
I think in general terms, and I've spoken before on the show about the way that Moyes has changed the culture of the club and the way that we perceive the club as well. Because in the past, it was the hierarchy who were buying players and relying on agents to put forward players. Since Moyes arrived at the club, he said, these are the specific players I want. I don't
Especially
want
the second time at the club.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And he's not interested in recommendations and videos. He has a very clear idea of the kind of players he wants and the profile of that player. Somebody comes in, someone who prioritises hard work. And I know the guys were saying it should be a given, but for too many players at the club beforehand, it was not. So Felipe Anderson, gone. Sebastian Haller, gone. Guys who kind of thought, well, I bring something to the party other than hard work, gone. And I think every player in the team, in both teams, because he has a Europa League team and a Premier League team. In the Europa League team, Kurt Zouma doesn't play, Antonio doesn't play. Speaking to what you were saying about prioritising players for the Premier League. But I think now they've brought in Rob Newman from Man City as the head of recruitment, and they've got a very clearly defined approach to identifying the talent that is going to take them to the next level. I think if they do get that striker, they do solve that problem.
I think with David Moyes coming back, with the way that they kind of got rid of him the last time, and then him going on that kind of like managerial, like no man's land, ended up with Sociedad, Sunderland, all these things that was happening to him. For him to then come back to West Ham at a time, West Ham, probably because there weren't fans in, it may have helped his appointment. I don't know, Darren, you know what I mean? It may have helped his appointment simply because the West Ham fans probably would have said, like, what are we getting him for? What are we bringing him back for? But he's come back at a time with the owners. He's probably said to them, let me do this my way. Let me do it how I know I can do it. Let me buy the players I want. Let me get the backroom staff I want. And he's done that. And what is very noticeable to anything else, you could see when they're all celebrating to him when you score. That's a big sign. When you see the team coming to celebrate with everybody, they're in it. They are so together. They're together.
You're so right about Moyes. I remember when I did the story that he was coming back, and I had people sending me direct messages saying, is this true? Really? What a lack of ambition from West Ham. And lots of people saw David Moyes as somebody who was yesterday's man. So it's wonderful to see the way that he has re-established his reputation, not just in the eyes of West Ham fans, but in the eyes of football. Because people now see a guy as a great tactician, somebody who can organise a team, motivate a team, buy well. I can't think of a signing he has made that hasn't improved the team. And he's also turned Antonio into a defender that worries the life out of even the best defenders in the Premier League. He's done a magnificent job.
Yeah, there's a real sense of personal satisfaction for David Moyes, because it looked for a long time as though the job at Manchester United, Sociedad, Sunderland, that it knocked his confidence. But as you said, not much changes in football and not much changes in what's required of a good football manager.
No, football does change and it goes through cycles every few years and different patterns and everyone does stuff. But the reality is it's the same game. And I agree, he just looks more... He kind of went about it quietly last season. I think everyone laid off him a little bit because they was winning and no one really spoke about him and West Ham so much. And that benefited him. And I think that now... It's weird because it's talking about someone that's older than me saying that his confidence got knocked. So he looks more confident, but he does look more like this is my West Ham team. I deserve to be here. Like all of it's, he feels. I think that he looks more comfortable, when he's on the side of the pitch, and his team obviously respond to him, and he's getting the best out of everybody that he puts on the pitch. And for a manager, we spoke about Manchester United's troubles. He's maximising his players' potential and it's proving good for them. But the impressive thing is they keep going. They don't just stop. And even like you look at Leicester this season compared. So last season it was West Ham, Leicester, and there were little bit surprises and whatnot. Well, you look at West Ham, they've just picked straight, but they've gone even better. So they're just, he's not settling for being an okay seventh place.
But that's what I mean about changing the culture of the club. Because time and again in the press conferences after matches, he said, we've been flaky. This is a club that's been flaky in the past. That's the word he uses. And he says that there have been too many players who have come here and thought, I've done this, that's it, and clocked off. He said, I want this team to be challenging at the top. I remember last season, you know, even we talked about them maybe getting into Europe last season, and he didn't see that as being the limit of their ambition. So at the start of this season, in press conferences, he was saying, I don't see the top four as a closed shop. I see us as being able to get in there. And I'm almost answering two questions back, but, you know, when you look at the vulnerabilities of United, there is a wide open race for that top four.
Yes.
And it includes West Ham.
Yes.
More points than Manchester United. You know, if Manchester United were to part company with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer,
They get David Moyes. Right?
but no, 4 points. But in this calendar year, 4 points more than Liverpool as well, who are above them in the league, and who they play this weekend, and who have at times, saw it across the 90 against Brighton, have drifted in games. And that relentlessness of West Ham, is that what could play to their advantage at the weekend?
Well, what is good about David Moyes now in this West Ham side, like I said, is that they're going to play teams, and then because his record against the top teams, it's not great, and they're beating the top guys for whatever reason. But he just seems to have just let the handbrake off in respect of going for teams, just going and playing against them. And I think that what we saw with very organised Palace side against City, you know what I mean? You've got to impose yourself on the team, whoever they are. You know that Liverpool are going to cause you problems in the game. Know that, but then say, well, we are going to cause them problems to the point where it unsettles them. And then when you unsettle them a bit, that's when you may be able to get the chance. That's when you need to take the chance. And you hear when people say, oh, they just weren't clinical enough, and you can't do that against Liverpool. If they're clinical enough and they take the chance, unsettle them, then what happens is that you get this upset like we saw with Palace. That's what you get, those upsets.
I think you're absolutely right. If you look at the Brentford game, they went on the front foot. If you look at the Brighton game, that after they were 2-0 down, they said, look, let's not be scared. Let's go on the front foot. Let's take the game to them. If you look at the Atletico Madrid game, they were 2 goals down. They said, look, let's not cower in fear. Let's go for Liverpool. And that's what they've done, and that's how it maybe is the way to play on Sunday for West Ham.
It's going to be a really interesting game on Sunday between West Ham and Liverpool.